From the air, the structure in our next mystery looks like a flying saucer. It's called the Runit Dome, and it's located in the Marshall Islands. The question is, what is the Runit Dome hiding? And how dangerous is it? In a way, the story of the dome starts with this piece of footage. It's May 1958 on the Eniwetok Atoll in the South Pacific. The U.S. tests a nuclear bomb underwater. 1/10 of a second after detonation, a massive dome of ocean water rises into the air. At the 20-second mark, it's nearly a mile high.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Shazam. That is the massive amount of water that has suddenly become airborne is absolutely incredible.
This footage was classified until 1999. Military historian and author Martin K.A. Morgan says it's an abandoned U.S. Navy ship there in the blast zone. The brass at the Pentagon claimed these underwater nuclear tests helped them understand the effects of nukes on Navy ships.
And looked at this wall of water that's tumbling toward the ship. And look at the way it just sweeps over that ship like it's not even there. I mean, that is an unstoppable force. And no matter how modern your Navy is, your Navy can't survive that.
The Eniwetok Atoll, part of the Marshall Islands, is about 3,000 miles west of Hawaii. Our brave GIs captured these islands from Japan in World War II. And in the early Cold War, the area became ground zero for nearly 67 nuclear tests conducted over a 12-year period. Many of the local Marshallese had to be relocated. The U.S. assured the island nation that it would clean up the fallout. And that brings us back to the dome. In 1977, the dome was erected to contain the lethal radioactive waste produced by those massive blasts.
They had to do something with all of the now radioactive material and soil that was everywhere in this region. And so the U.S. government built effectively a tomb called the Runit Dome.
But is the dome really keeping the area safe? Or is it a ticking time bomb?
So what it's hiding is simple. Nuclear waste. And Rudy, not just a little nuclear waste.
That's right, this thing is huge. It has the equivalent of 35 Olympic swimming pools of cemented radioactive material. Now we've got some uncemented radioactive crater debris and poor soil all around. Now, to protect it from the ocean, we've got a seawall as well. But the question is it safe? First, we need to ask, why so much waste? Historian Alex Wellerstein says it's because a rivalry between the U.S. Navy and Air Force led to more than 60 tests.
It was the United States Navy trying to show that it still had a role in the nuclear age and that the atomic bomb didn't make it obsolete. It's because the Army Air Forces were sort of trying to take all of the credit for what the future would look like in terms of national security.
And historian and author Amy Title says the tests only stopped when the U.S. and Soviet Union agreed to a moratorium.
The moratorium called for an end to atmospheric testing, but it wasn't an immediate thing, which gave both countries this last-ditch effort to put in as many tests as they could possibly get.
The Marshallese had no idea there'd be so many tests, or that they'd result in 100,000 cubic yards of waste. And there was another big secret being kept from them. In the 1960s, after nuke tests ended, the Navy conducted a dozen biological weapons tests there.
The people there were not really kept informed of what was going to happen, and they were sort of, in the end, treated a bit like guinea pigs.
See, the Runit Dome was designed to literally bury that part of the atoll's past. It's 377 feet in diameter, with an apex of 24 feet and concrete walls 18 inches thick at sea level. But now, there are new concerns that the dome isn't necessarily going to keep a lid on things forever.
The water level in the area of Eniwetok has been rising by about 7 millimeters per year. That doesn't sound like much, but in aggregate over time, that's a lot. And what that means is that seawater is in contact with what the dome is sealing.
There are places that water can get into. The fear now is that radioactive material will slowly start leaching out.
We're left with a situation that's, well, FUBAR is the best term. And the challenge is to find a way to prevent a widespread radioactive disaster without making matters worse.
And at this stage, the only answer is to go there and pour more concrete on top of it. Everything we do at this point is going to leave a destructive footprint. What we're left with now is a situation that cannot be changed.
Whether or not the tomb is strong enough to prevent an environmental disaster is still a mystery.
And it's nuts to think about all the nuke tests that happened around the world before the ban. Here's a time lapse of every atmospheric nuclear detonation around the world.
There have been 528, and those are just the ones that are above ground.
Let's hope we don't get to 529.